Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to really get into the career of Jimmy Garrison. He was known as the Kansas City Cyclone, a welterweight contender back in the 30s and 40s. We're diving into the sources here to see how he built this really extraordinary legacy. And it's largely cemented by one defining thing. He went head-to-head with the legendary Henry Armstrong, not once, but 4 times.
Yeah, 4 times. And that fact alone, it just screams volumes about the era, doesn't it? We're talking about boxing when it was just brutally competitive, really fueled by working-class grit. Garrison's story is almost a blueprint for resilience. It maps out how he went from, well, real personal hardship to becoming this incredibly tough professional fighter.
Okay, so let's talk about that background. What exactly forged that kind of durability? The sources say he was born in 1915, oldest of 8 kids. But then the family broke up in 1928.
That's right. A really shattering event for a kid.
And he spent nearly 10 years after that moving through different orphanages. I mean, that's more than just a tough childhood. That sounds like a crucible, really.
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
And you can argue that was the foundation, for his fighting style later on. That hard knock life, it translated pretty directly into, well, an iron chin and this aggressive, always moving forward kind of attack.
So how did he get into boxing formally?
Well, he found some structure there. A local handler, Frankie Gatto, took him in. And Garrison, he turned professional almost immediately. 1934, he was just 18.
Straight into it.
Yeah. And that early background, it gave him this unique reputation from the start. It wasn't just that he was trained to fight. People felt he was, like, built for it, born for it almost.
And you see that toughness translating pretty quickly into success, right? In the lightweight division initially, it wasn't just winning bouts. He started taking down nationally ranked guys pretty fast.
Yeah.
Names like Lou Massey, Joe Ganulli.
Exactly. Big wins. And he even got a non-title victory over Frankie Click, who was the reigning super featherweight champ at the time. That was huge.
So how quickly did that kind of grit turn him into a real local hero in Kansas City?
Well, those wins held, but what really cemented him as a local legend was that intense rivalry he had in 1936 with Pat Kissinger.
Ah, the Kissinger fights.
Yeah. Both were these fiery Irish-American fighters,
Yeah.
right? And Kansas City they couldn't get enough of it. The demand was so high, they actually fought 3 times that year.
3 times? How did those turn out?
Garrison won the first one, they drew the second, and then Garrison took the third. Real battles.
And isn't there a specific detail about that third fight? Something about the venue.
Oh, yeah, that's a great bit of trivia. Their third fight, a full 15-rounder, was actually the event that officially opened the massive Kansas City Municipal Auditorium.
Seriously? The grand opening.
Yep. That tells you something about his drawing power locally, right? A true phenomenon.
So, okay, that definitely shows he was ready for a bigger stage.
Absolutely. And by 1939, he'd moved up to welterweight. And his path, well, it inevitably led him to the biggest test imaginable back then.
Henry Armstrong.
Henry Armstrong, for the title. Armstrong was just an unprecedented force in boxing. A whirlwind.
Now, I read that in their first title fight, Garrison actually did pretty well early on.
He did. He boxed brilliantly in the early rounds. Some scorecards actually had him leading.
But Armstrong's pressure.
Yeah, eventually, Armstrong's relentless pressure, that famous perpetual motion, it just overwhelmed him, as it did to almost everyone.
But if Armstrong was so dominant, why 4 fights? Why keep matching them up? Was Garrison just seen as a good payday, a tough gate attraction?
He was kind of the perfect foil, in a way. Tough enough to survive, provide some real drama, make Armstrong work, but maybe not quite skilled enough ultimately to actually beat the champ. But the truly striking thing, when you look at his record against Armstrong, Garrison went the distance in 2 of those 4 fights.
2 full fights against that Henry Armstrong.
Exactly. Think about that. That was a feat almost unheard of against Armstrong in his prime. It really proved Garrison deserved that nickname, the Cyclone. He could weather the storm.
But that kind of relentless pressure, even if you survive, it takes a toll, right? What ultimately forced him out of the ring? Was it Armstrong?
Well, indirectly, maybe. But the primary issue wasn't just Armstrong's punches. It was chronic cuts. He started getting cut easily and badly.
Ah, okay.
Those recurring cuts led to the doctor stopping their 1939 rematch. I think it was in the 7th round. And eventually, after their 4th and final fight in 1944, The damage just accumulated, forced him into retirement.
But before he completely left the spotlight, there was that interesting little detour, right? The movie appearance.
Yeah, fascinating footnote. He moved out to Los Angeles for a bit, continued to compete briefly, and actually appeared in the James Cagney film City for Conquest.
Wow, from fighting Armstrong to being on a set with Cagney, that's quite a shift.
It is. And then came another big shift, settling down far from the fight scene.
Right, he ended up in Cruz Bay, Oregon.
That's right. Settled down there, worked as a longshoreman, raised his family. He did dip his toe back into boxing very briefly as a trainer in the late 1960s, but mostly lived a quiet life.